Good morning, YouTube. You are on the lifeboat. This is Captain Calhoun speaking. Welcome aboard. Let me turn this down a little bit so I can hear myself think. Nothing like getting ready. Nothing makes getting ready better than jamming out to music. That's what I was trying to say. All righty. Heather Rhodes, good to see you. Kristen, Melinda, Robin, Roberta. Good morning, Gemini Girl. Hello, hello, Crafty Witch. It's good to see you. It's been a while. Carnasol, Gemini Girl. Yo, yo. Heck yeah, guys. Good morning. Welcome aboard the lifeboat. And it is another Monday, another fantastic Monday to put my foot on. I mean, to just do super great things today, Pretty excited. Today marks the beginning of my hectic week. When I say hectic, it's just a departure from the speed things have been moving at. So it's going to be all right. It's just going to be a little faster. I'm going to be pulling my hair out just a little more, but it'll be okay. It's all for a great purpose. Good morning, Mara Mello, Debbie Peters, Cindy G. Own eyes and ears. Hello. It took me a second, but I got it. Welcome in. Good morning. Welcome aboard. It's a wonderful day to talk about recovery. And I don't really have a plan for that, but we're going to get into it one way or another. Blessed to Crochet, good to see you. Wonderful to see you. So I haven't been streaming on Calhoun's Corner at all, and I'm just now feeling like I'm not sick anymore. So we will have to start doing that. I know I had talked about doing it over the weekend, but I was still sick, so we didn't do it. That being said, my schedule this week is pretty hectic. So if we do Calhoun's Corner, it's going to be in the middle of the night or this weekend. So I would have to say, judging by the options, I think this weekend is probably the best time to start back up. But I want to get a regular schedule going. I know I had talked about having decided what our schedule is going to be with that by midweek. I'm still going to try and stick to that. So keep your fingers crossed. See? How is everyone? Hopefully this week is off to a good start for everyone else as well. I know I'm doing quite all right. Mighty fine. Yesterday we were talking about does recovery, this is the note we left off on, does recovery require abstinence from or a deceleration of all psychoactive drugs? Now, again, these are not questions I'm asking. We are reading from a science journal written by Mr. William White. This was written in 2007, I believe. And we're just reading through it. It uses a lot of technical language, so I'm going to decipher the matrix and give it back to you in terms that we can all understand. And hopefully we can, learn some things. At the very least, we're going to read some very thought-provoking things, so it'll get our brains working, right? Get our brains moving, which is good. I like to start my day with some recovery, and lately, this is how we've been doing it. So we were talking about recovery from a substance use disorder is best defined in terms of one's total relationship with psychoactive drugs rather than in reference to a single substance. Now, what that's saying is that we should focus on the relationship between us and substances in general rather than one particular, aka our DOC, to really fully understand recovery, to really fully understand our addictions and how to move through it. Focusing on one's DOC is probably not, and I mean in terms of like focusing on my own DOC in terms of like, this is what I have a problem with. What he's trying to say here is you most likely probably have problems with substances in general, right? There might be varying degrees, right? I obviously have much more of a problem with crack cocaine than I do with, alcohol, even though I have a problem with both, right? But what he's saying is that your relationship with substances in general is the issue, not the drug, right? Millie the Dandelion, what's going on? Good to see you. He goes on to say attempts. Ooh, I hit a button. I'm gonna have to refine my place. Give me just a minute. Scrolling. Attempts to define recovery inevitably confront the question. We talked about this yesterday of nicotine dependence among those seeking recovery. I'm going to skip over that. Okay. Section 7. Does the use of prescribed psychoactive drugs disqualify one from the status of recovery? Now, if you've been here for any length of time on the boat, you know how we feel about this. We believe in medical assisted treatment. We believe in harm reduction. We also believe that, complete abstinence may be like an ideal goal, right? But it's not necessarily attainable for everybody right this second. And recovery, some modicum of recovery is better than none at all, in my opinion. So we enjoy, a bit of harm reduction and a bit of medical assisted treatment over here on the lifeboat. And I think that's a very good thing. That being said, wow, something happened again. A problem that arises from recovery definitions. And if you're just joining us, the title of this paper is Addiction Recovery, Its Definition and Conceptual Boundaries. And it's basically exploring the definition, the lack of a definition of recovery has large, vast, far-reaching impacts in the I was going to say industry, in the community. I guess it is an industry for medical professionals and rehabbers and whatnot. But the point of the paper is to explore how our lack of a clear definition that we can all agree on is impacting the recovery community in a negative way. A problem that arises from recovery definitions that preclude, that means come before, the use of any psychoactive drugs involves the issue of prescribed psychoactive drugs, aka Suboxone, methadone, right? Great examples, including those prescribed as adjuncts. It's a stupid word we didn't need to use. I'm going to look it up real quick. Probably means something really simple. A thing added to something else as supplementary rather than as an essential part. All right, so it's an unnecessary addition. Including those prescribed as unnecessary additions in the treatment of addiction, those prescribed for co-occurring psychiatric disorders, and those prescribed for other medical conditions. Now, I didn't really retain any of that information because I was reading it out loud, so I'm going to read it again silently and then make sure that I'm understanding. Recovery definitions that come before using psychoactive drugs. Interesting. Oh, I was misunderstanding from the get-go. It starts a problem that arises from recovery definitions. So we're talking about a problem with definitions of recovery. Now, recovery definitions that preclude. So he's not saying come before, he's saying that say no to these things. So a recovery definition that does not allow the use of psychoactive drugs at all, right? So now we're talking about the side of the community that doesn't enjoy. I keep saying enjoy it casually. That doesn't believe in harm reduction. That doesn't believe in medical assisted treatment. Right. What we're talking about here is medical assisted treatment and definitions that don't include them. Right. So a problem that arises from recovery definitions that don't allow the use of any psychoactive drugs involves the issue of psychoactive drugs that are prescribed by a doctor, including those prescribed as additions to treatment of addiction. Those prescribed for psychiatric disorders that are happening alongside addiction, as well as those prescribed for various other medical conditions. For example, acute or chronic pain. So he's saying that there's going to be issues coming about in this discussion of definition when we're talking about medical assisted treatment. That's what he's saying. And I agree. I think this is one of the cruxes of the hang up here in this discussion. One of the reasons we have a hard time defining recovery, I think, Um, and then when I say having a hard time defining recovery, I mean the reason I think we're all having a hard time agreeing on a definition of recovery, right? Is this itself right here. Whether or not harm reduction and medical assisted treatment like constitutes recovery or relapse, right? And there's some other issues that I think are central to why we can't agree, but this is definitely one of them. 100% definitely one of them. Yeah, let's put some ones up for Miss Dragon. I have been reading, but not reading, if you know what I mean. Hope everything's all right. I almost grabbed the Miss Dragon cup today for my coffee. Hope Miss Dragon's all right. Yeah, let's get some ones up for Miss Dragon. Anyone else out there that's struggling that needs a little extra love. If you're new to the channel, when we all put ones up in the chat, that's how we express love. That's how we say like thoughts and prayers. But that thoughts and prayers tends to be divisive language for some people, so we try not to say that. So we put ones up, right? It's the same thing. Our thoughts are with you. My heart goes out to you, right? That kind of deal. Hugs. Hey, Debbie Peters, what's going on? Welcome in. Sharon Kennedy, hello, hello. Life is a dreamin'. Bobby Jeans, always a pleasure. That was a difficult sentence to get through, folks. There is a deep anti medication bias in addiction treatment grounded in the long history of, I'm going to have to look this word up, iatrogenic. I'm sure there's a simpler word we could have used here, but this guy's brain is so big. Iatrogenic, relating to illness caused by medical examination or treatment. Interesting. Drugs may cause side effects, which can lead to iatrogenic disease. I'm not sure I understand this word still. Let's look for an alternative definition. So it's a disease that's unintentionally induced by a physician or a surgeon. I've never heard that word before. Interesting. There is a deep anti-medication bias in addiction treatment grounded in the long history of iatrogenic results. Grounded in the long history of physicians not knowing what they're doing with alcohol and drug stuff, right? With addiction and screwing people up. So that makes sense to me, especially like knowing that recovery itself is not something that we understand as a people very well. And historically, we have not understood it very well at all. Right now, we're probably in the best place we've ever been for understanding addiction and the way that our minds work, right? And how we're different. It's a disease, right? All these things are new concepts. Historically, and you read a lot about this when you read through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It tells a lot about the history of the movement, right? And the initially the way drunks were handled was very, very similar to people that have lost their minds, right? People that are clinically insane. So not the best treatment, right? And I can understand what he's trying to say with the long history of again this word iatrogenic. Basically, that means disease induced unintentionally by the physician or the doctor, right? So I think that that's referring to putting drunks in asylums and prescribing treatments that we didn't really know how to treat alcoholism and addiction back in the day, right? So I think that's what he's trying to say. That's my thought. Iatrogenic results resulting from attempts to treat addiction with opium, morphine, cocaine, barbiturates, amphetamines, LSD, and tranquilizers of numerous varieties. Hey, let's try and treat this substance abuse disease with substances. So I get it now. I should have just kept reading, I guess. This bias has decreased in professional and recovery circles as more people with co-occurring disorders have entered treatment and sought membership in recovery fellowships. And as new drugs have arrived with less potential for harm. Breakthroughs in the neurobiology of addiction, the way your brain works with addiction, holds great promise for new pharmacological adjuncts. So that's drug additions in the treatment of addiction. But stigma continues to be attached to some of the most scientifically grounded medication based addiction treatments. Interesting. So, after reading that whole paragraph, my initial beliefs were true, proven true, right? Or at least he agrees with me. Um, and what I mean by that is medical assisted treatment and harm reduction are as ideas, as concepts, are at the center of the issue of us not being able to agree on a definition of recovery. So he's saying that there's a huge stigma and bias around it. He goes on to say it's less now, right? This is why there's that stigma and bias. It's not necessarily as much of a stigma and bias as it was, but this stigma continues to be attached to some of the most scientifically grounded medication based addiction treatments. So it still exists, it's still out there in some notable areas, right? Tracy, hello, hello, welcome in. James Collins, what's going on, big dog? Good to see you, man. So cool, sweet. I feel accomplished after having made it through that paragraph. I have to say that was a difficult one. The importance of the definitions of recovery and abstinence, aka sobriety, in the context of medication-based treatment is evident in Narcotics Anonymous policy statements on methadone. Apparently, they have policy statements on methadone and other medications. I'm going to read that again for myself because I don't think I comprehended. The importance of definitions of recovery and abstinence while we're talking about medication-based treatment is super duper obvious in Narcotics Anonymous policy statements. Okay, cool. I wonder what their statements are. If he doesn't tell us what they are, I'm going to look them up because I think that would be absolutely nifty to see what Narcotics Anonymous's official position on methadone is. Curious, right? I'm curious. Are you curious? NA, we're going to say NA instead of Narcotics Anonymous because it's easier. NA guidelines for hospital and institution meetings in methadone clinics explicitly advise, and I quote, when the subject of methadone comes up, it is important not to judge. That's the end quote. Okay, that's very nice. But the NAWS board, NAWS, what's that? Okay, we're going to have to look some stuff up now. It's okay. That's the nature of the beast. It takes a second. Narcotics Anonymous World Services. Very nice. Global, international. What was the other thing I was going to look up? Oh, let's look up the actual policy before we get too deep in here. Well, that's not where I want that, is it? We'll do this. We'll do this. NA methadone policy. No. I want the official policy statements on methadone. NA guidelines for hospital and institution meetings. Okay, NA guidelines for methadone clinic meetings and medication. While medication-assisted treatment is an accepted and effective blah, 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 blah. Bulletin number 29. Here we go. This is from na.org. World Service Board of Trustees, bulletin number 29. Regarding, here, I'll share it with you guys. This will be easy. Just a minute, I'll zoom. Let's go. I know how to use the computer. I'm going to zoom out just one for my use, and hopefully this will be good for everyone. Cool. Regarding methadone and other drug replacement programs. We're not going to read this whole thing. I just want to kind of get an idea of what they have to say about it. This was from 1996. Some of us were uncertain about whether recovery was possible for us. Okay, that sounds like NA to me. program of complete abstinence. This is written totally in the style of NA and AA. The way that it's written, it just has a feel to it. The only requirement, these are all things that they say. So he's talking, many of our members, however, have expressed concern about individuals on drug replacement programs. Questions came up regarding such individuals' membership status, right? Like whether or not they should be invited to this thing, ability to share at meetings, right? Whether they have a voice in the group, lead meetings, right? To actually do service. That's service right there. Leading a meeting. And you know how we feel about service, anyways. Calling into question what their ability to lead meetings or become trusted servants on any level, right? I wonder if they'd even let them do the coffee. That's crazy. Are these members clean? They ask. Can one really be a member and still be using? You know, I was always taught, this is very interesting. This is from 1996. It said, I was always taught that it ain't a real meeting if someone ain't loaded in the back. You know what I mean? If there's not someone here that really needs help, we're not doing this right. So I got a little emotional there. I feel really strongly about this. I don't think we should exclude anybody, anybody. But obviously, the 1996 World Service Board of Trustees disagrees, or at least, I mean, that's not an official statement, right? This is written in sort of a narrative tone. So let's see where it goes. Perhaps by answering the most important question first, the issue of membership, we can establish a context by which to approach this issue. Tradition, blah, 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 says the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. Okay, so they shut that down pretty quickly. What about the other questions? Does NA have the right to limit members participating in meetings? We believe so. Ooh. While some groups choose to allow such members to share, it is also common practice for NA groups to encourage these members or any other addict who is still using to participate only by listening and by talking with members after the meeting or during a break. I've been to meetings that are treated that way. And I think this is another, we shouldn't get too deep into the policies of NA. I was just curious, right? For the simple fact that this isn't what we're doing here. Like, this information isn't that useful for us. I just wanted to know what their position on methadone was. And it seems to be, obviously we didn't finish, but I'm not going to. It seems to be still be at least partially steeped or mired in bureaucracy, right? In old ideas. Obviously, I can understand why you wouldn't necessarily want someone that's loaded to be sharing or leading a meeting, right? I can agree with that. But at the same time, like, limiting, I don't know. I'm much more into a more organic approach, I guess. I don't like to say that everybody like this can't do this. I don't like that. You know, that's just my opinion. And again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not like a medical professional. It's just my opinion. That never felt good. I guess it doesn't need to feel good when I'm doing something bad, right? But it never felt good to be told I can't talk. I just need to listen. It's like, well, I'm gonna see myself out of here then, asshole. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. That's how it felt to me. I'm gonna take a break from reading the heavy stuff for a second. We're gonna hang out. We can go back to William White as well, but I'm gonna take just a brief break. Brain's overheating. Please do as James Collins suggests and hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications, especially if you like what we do here. It makes a huge difference for us. And thank you to everyone for showing up. What's going on, Charlie Mullins? How you doing, bro? Good to see you. Hope Monday's treating you well. Katrina, hello? Hello. Good to see you. Well, very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. That's crazy to me. I feel like I knew this, right, in my heart of hearts, but it being just written down in plain English that back in the day, medical professionals were attempting to treat addiction with opium, morphine, cocaine, barbiturates, amphetamines, LSD, and tranquilizers of numerous varieties. That's nuts to me. Speaking of, this is that paper that we've been reading from right here. Um, yeah, we'll go to the top so you can see the title as well. So much. So much. Mr. William White. Um, if you enjoy any of this content, um, I have found Mr. William on YouTube giving speeches. So you can see his face, hear his voice with your own ears. And the way that he speaks is much easier to understand than the way he writes, let me tell you. If you enjoy this, I would highly recommend checking him out. I honestly just typed in William White into YouTube, and it was pretty easy. If you have any issues, message me and I'll help you figure it out. But pretty interesting stuff. Did my second Q&A video. It was awesome, says James Collins. 24 minutes with super questions. I can't wait for last Sunday in February to do episode 3. Let's go. You know, being excited for things to come is one of the things that keeps me going, man. It's one of the things that gets me out of bed in the morning. Like my excitement about things that I've been working on, things that I've been building, right? Coming to fruition. Having things to look forward to is absolutely essential on the road to recovery, in my opinion. And when I say the road to recovery, that's probably not proper. The road of recovery, because recovery is not a destination. It's like a lifestyle. And that sounds so corny. I hate that. It's a mindset, right? It's how I'm moving through the world. It's how I'm thinking about stuff, how I'm listening and looking at things. Dingoes ate my name. Hello, hello. Good to see you. What do you guys got going on this week? Anything to write home about? Anything fun, fancy? Just the regular run of the mill, another day, another dollar. What's going on? Talk to me. I wish this coffee was hot. Maybe this will help. From the inside. Tommy Bird, what's going on, big dog? Stopped this morning and took a couple pictures of all the ice on the Ohio River. Rarely see it like that, where it's such a large body of water, dude. There's something about nature doing its thing, like water freezing over or like the leaves falling off the trees. That stuff is always so stunning to look at. And you know, I always try to take a picture of it and then I'll look at the picture later and it just never does it justice. Like being there in that moment, seeing like the river frozen over was probably just amazing, right? And we can only do our best to capture that moment, but it'll never be as good as the real thing. That's really cool, dude. I'm missing the cold weather a ton right now. And I'm not saying I'm missing the temperature being lower because it's pretty cold outside here right now, which is whack. Hate it. But snow and ice and like the weather itself, I do miss quite a bit, which is a weird thing to say, weird thing to admit, but snow has always signaled fun in my brain for some reason. Weather is perfect this week for some cross-country skiing, man. What I wouldn't give, I tell you what. I'm really stoked I got to spend that one day snowboarding with my sister while I was in Salt Lake. Made my entire year. And I guess it was still technically in 2024, so definitely was a nice cap. Bobby Jeans says, learning how to live your best life. In my opinion, this is the best definition of recovery. And maybe we could tighten up the corners a little bit, right? Maybe we could, right? Like make it a little bit more defined. Maybe it's too broad, but that's literally what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And my recovery is different from everyone else's recovery. We all get to really decide, right, what we're going to do. And when we decide the wrong thing for ourselves, the only person that's real, I shouldn't say the only person that's suffering, but the person that's suffering the most is us when we choose wrong, right? We have to keep ourselves accountable. And I think that that is the hardest part, the part of the hardest learning curve in early recovery is realizing that I'm the only one that's really going to keep me accountable. And that's why I've been failing, because I have no self-discipline. Right. As soon as the chips are down, I'm gonna go grab a beer or some blow or whatever. I'm gonna go turn my brain off. Realizing that you're the only one that can stop that from happening, and it's really difficult. It's interesting. I'm learning to live my best life though. One step at a time, dude. One step at a time, dude. Lester Crochet says, Captain, I sent your dad some candy corn in that package. It's something for you. You may have to go hunting for it, but there's something. All right, I will. I'll check it out. I'm pretty sure that I feel like I heard tell of the mailroom, so I'll have to go talk to him. I still have those I still have some candy corn from your last package, and I still have what am I trying to say? Black canvases and white canvases, but I'm especially excited for the black ones. So don't think I've forgotten, Mary. I'm just getting to it slowly, slowly, slowly. I'm very excited about it. Luckily, I also have a lifetime supply of white paint. Narcoleptic Chihuahua Productions. What's going on? Good to see you, man. Like a boss. Happy Monday, guys. I just realized that today is a chance to give a gift that was freely given to me. Hey, that sounds familiar, man. That's awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for saying hello. We were discussing Mr. William White and his ideas on the definition of recovery. Bobby Jean says, patience is my nemesis. Me too. Patience and discipline are the two things I struggle with the most. But those are also two things that I'm working on every day. So I'm giving them the proper attention. I'm sure um, that I'll get better and better as time goes on. Millie says, we've had a hailstorm here today. Stormy winds, other than fear for others safely. I love this weather. Yeah, I have to say that is the downside. I don't ever want my friends getting in car accidents or slipping on ice. Or my sister crashed her friend's car while she was in Minnesota into a snowbank. They hit some black ice. Luckily, everyone's okay. Sisters, friends, dad and brother came to get them. So everything was fine. But that was a little interesting. Made me a little nervous when I heard about it, but I was curious. I was thinking to myself, why is my sister driving? My Southern Californian sister driving in the weather when her friend lives in that kind of weather, right? Why? What is going on here? But it's whatever. She's fine. Everything's fine. She's safe. That's all that matters. Next time, though, I'm going to tell her, don't you be driving out there. You don't have any experience. It could have happened to anyone. I just get worried. I get nervous for my little sis. What's going on, Tony? Good to see you. No need to be sorry. I'm about to shut it down anyways. My throat's starting to hurt. Can't catch a break. That being said, one more time, hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. It makes a huge difference, all right? I am Spanx Calhoun. You probably know my dad, the Admiral Tommy Scoville. I am his son. I do the morning boat section here. We keep it recovery focused. Sometimes we fart around and do other stuff, but generally, most of the time, 9 out of 10, we're doing recovery. Probably even more than 9 out of 10. Check out my dad later today, Uncle Johnny Scoville on Chase the Heat. The beautiful, wonderful, relatable Reese, my dad's fiance. Give them all a shout. And thank you to all of you for everything that you do. Thanks for your support. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of this community. You're changing my life, and I'm sure that it affects others as well. So just want to say thank you to every single one of you. To the mods, the crew, anyone new, much love. All right. You guys have a great day. Let's make it a great week. Let's make Monday great again. Captain Calhoun out of here.